Hey guys, and now I'm going to be talking about my experience getting to rehearse with potential hosts back in 2007 who were in the running to replace Bob Barker. Potential celebrities, that is, who tried out as the host. It was early 2007, shortly after I became a CBS page, where one of my managers, Irie Savasta, pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, Mark, this coming Saturday, they're doing a test rehearsal with Mario Lopez. He's going to be doing a test show in the following week or so. He's in the running to replace Bob Barker, and we're going to be getting 4 CBS pages to be practice contestants throughout that day during rehearsals. And I thought of you." And I was like, "Great, I would love to do that." So that Saturday, it was, I believe it was the end of March. It most likely was the end of March. Myself, and then my friend from Merrimack at the time, Chuck, and 2 other pages, Brian and Jill, we all went to the Bob Barker studio, and we got to be practice contestants for the day. So we went to the studio, and there were Rich Fields and producers at the time, Roger Dopkowitz and Kathy Fingers Greco and Stan Blitz, all seated at the chairs inside the studio, hanging out. Bob wasn't there, though, to watch. Maybe he was in hiding. Who knows? But he wasn't there that day. But they were all there. I believe Scott Robinson, the PA, was there, and a few of the models. I believe it was, there were 2 models that day who did the test shows. I forget who they were, though. There were 2 of them. I think it was Rachel and Gwendolyn. I think those were the 2. I'm pretty sure those were the 2 that did the test rehearsals with us. So they filmed it as if we were actually taping the show, but we did little segments here and there as we did our rehearsals. So Rich Fields calls our names down. We run down to contestants row, and Mario comes out the big door. And the first item up for bids, I remember, was some kind of a big piece of furniture that they would not have on the show today in the 2020s. And maybe not even in the mid-2000s, the late 2000s, because they don't have those kind of items on the show anymore. It was some kind of a big piece of furniture, like a grandfather clock. It was a big piece of furniture. And I remember bidding the best on it. I bid like 2,000 something, like high 2000s, and I made my way on the stage first. And I just acted like myself, like, oh my God, like just fun, And then Mario put his hand around me, and as I've mentioned in reviews before about my experience, he felt bony. Like, he's a muscular guy. But I remember at the time I was about 180 pounds myself. I was very small framed. Smaller than I am now. But he felt very bony. Very, very bony. And we played clock game. So the first item up for bids that came up was a elliptical machine. Some kind of exercise machine. And Mario goes, "Start the clock. Mark, your first bid." I'm like, $9.99. And he's like, and he's like, "Mark, you're a Price is Right genius. How the heck did you know that?" So I looked at Roger Dopkowitz, who's sitting at the corner where his producer table is, and I'm like, "I watched the show. I worked the show. I've seen this item before." And they're all smiles. Roger was smiling. Kathy Greco was smiling. And the truth is, watching these old Price is Right reruns on Pluto TV, Bob Barker would even say it. It pays to watch the show because those kind of items may come up again and again and again. Nowadays, I don't think so. Since they had that perfect bid back in 2008 with that Terry guy for the showcase, I don't think they do that anymore. They change all the prices now. So that's what we did. We did the rehearsals throughout the day. And we played clock game. Plinko, and It's in the Bag. Those are the only games we played. And we did over and over and over. We just kept practicing those. We go back to contestants row. They'd show a prize. And then The second time I was I was the best bidder. But then Roger Dopkowitz goes, Mark, give everyone else a chance, just bid lower or something. I'm like, okay. He goes, we got to make everybody here, all the 4 pages, come up on stage and just do their own character with them, with Mario. So then I had my brilliant idea. I'm like, oh my God, I do my characters on YouTube, which, my hackers and my stalkers hate. I'm like, I'm going to do those characters with Mario. So in time, when I was back up on stage, I did my characters. I did Texas accents. I did gay characters. I did flamboyant, weird characters. And Roger and Kathy and Rich and Stan, they're all smiling, giggling, laughing. And all of us did that. All 4 of us pages were going into character that day after I did that. And I remember I'm pretty sure they filmed it. The cameraman was there and the monitors were on. And my friend Chet goes, oh, I saw you on the monitor. I was like, so they most likely filmed that. So I don't know, it might be in the vault somewhere, but I've never seen it. I would love to see that. So that was the first day. And then they invited us back for a second day of rehearsals. They invited us all back because we did so great. So a week later, Mario did his test show, I believe, that following Monday. And then a week later, Mario was coming back to rehearse again. He was doing another rehearsal because he was doing another test show. And also doing test shows that day were George Hamilton, Todd Newton, and Mike Richards. So I was pretty excited because I knew Mario already. I knew him from Saved by the Bell. I was familiar with that. And then since I watched it on SoapNet the last few years in the early 2000s, Dynasty, George Hamilton played Crystal's kidnapper. Crystal Carrington's kidnapper. So I remembered him from that. That was the only thing I was familiar with him from. And then Todd Newton, I remember him from hosting Whammy, The New Pressure Luck in the early 2000s. Mike Richards, I wasn't familiar with him. I know he became the producer of The Price is Right after Bob left. And I think he hosted Beauty and the Geek, but I don't watch those kind of shows. I don't watch those reality crapola kind of shows. I never did. So we did test rehearsals again, and I was still my same character. I got to meet Mario again on stage. And then when I met George came out the big door, and I was like, oh my God, he reminded me so much of Bob Barker. At the time back in 2007, George Hamilton had the tan, he had the gray hair, he had the smile, looked a lot like Bob Barker. Like from the late 80s, early 2000s when I used to watch the show as a kid. That's what George looked like at that time. So when I made my way on stage, I played a character. I'm like, oh my God, this is so historical. This is so a big moment in my life. I'm going to be a dad soon. I'm having a boy, and I'm going to name my first son George after you. And he's like, wow, Mark, that's amazing, naming your son George after me. Big smile he had in his face. And then I remember Todd Newton was very social with all of us. And I had Mario and Todd sign my shirt that I made the year before. Because I brought my shirt that day. I wore my shirt that day, but I wore it my 6th and last visit at The Price is Right the year before. And while I was at the rehearsal, Stan Blitz asked me, he goes, Mark, didn't I ever call you down? I was like, no. But I was in line with several of the people you called down the first, was it 4 shows? The first 4 shows. And on the 3rd visit, I was on stage with the showcase winner, Amy Sue. And he told me, Mark, even though I didn't call you down, you're working here now. That's even better than ever. And I told him, this is the place to be. I want to be here. I love working the show. And those are the memories I have working The Price is Right. Test rehearsals with Mario Lopez, George Hamilton, Todd Newton, and Mike Richards.